Okay, so this hand history is going to be based upon getting value even with your ragged hands in a limp pot where you're flopping good equity. So what we need to do with our good hands, we need to fast play them. Don't slow play them. Remember, all of our money here at the Micro Stakes is going to come from value betting, value betting, value betting. Most of it's going to come from that, and very little of it's going to really come from bluffing. So let's go ahead and let's get started. So we get a limp from under the gun. This guy is looking to be a loose passive opponent, second hand in. He's just limping. So yeah, I expect him to be really bad. And then over here we have a 35-21. He decides to limp as well. So again, this guy looks to be a bad player, and my hold'em indicator is labeling him as a donkey, as a bad player. And then I decide to check. Of course, really, there's nothing other than you can do with 8-4 offsuit. It's just a horrendous hand, and you don't expect to really win that often. And hold'em indicator saying that I'm only going to win 16% even against two limpers. So it's a really bad hand. But we get a good flop, and I decide that I need to just go ahead and start raising now and look to get the money in. So this is 10 and out, but these are really bad players. So when this guy limps, he could easily have a pair of 10s, he could easily have a flush draw, he could easily have a straight draw, whether it's a gut shot straight draw or an up-down straight draw. So don't assume that he automatically flopped a set or he flopped top two pair. On a board like this, I think that my hand is probably good a majority of the time. And so I think we need to bet here, and my goal here is to start building the pot. We are not going to flat call on a board like this because there's lots of turn cards that's just really going to hurt our hand. And if you think about it, one bad turn card would be a 9, another one would be a jack, a queen, a 7, any diamond. All those cards really suck for our range and for their potential range because it completes flushes and straights. So I go ahead and raise it up. He makes it 20 cents, and I decide to make it 60 cents, so I make it a pretty standard raise here. And we go ahead and we get player 5 to fold. So I guess he had nothing. I guess he's just limping and folding, which is expected. When you have players that are limping a lot, they're pretty much going to miss a flop around 80% of the time. So they're going to be just, limping in and folding post-flop. So we get back to this opponent. He decides to flat. And when he flats, this is when I know my hand is good. He could potentially have just only a pair of 10s. I think at this point he probably has a pair of 10s, like maybe a 9-10, a jack 10, a queen 10, a 7-10, any type of those hands, or he has a flush draw. Or he has some sort of, potential combination draw as well, where he has something like a 7-9 of diamonds. But I think that he might actually re-raise with a hand like that because it seems to be fairly aggressive. Anyways, let's go ahead to the turn, and this is one of those cards that we really don't like for a range. So if he had jack 9, he just hit the straight on the turn, and also if he had 10 queen, then he has two higher pair at this point, so it's not that great. He checks. I think we can either bet or check back here. I think either is fine, and we decide to bet, and I like the bet. And if you take a bet like this, we did 2/3 pot. If he does raise us, we have to have a plan, and the plan is if he raises us, we're pretty much just bet folding this turn. Because when people raise you on the turn, remember, it's just pretty much classic Beluga theorem stuff where they have the nuts, and we have bottom two pair on a really connected board here with the turn, and we don't beat much if this person hit the straight or they hit two pair on the turn. We're pretty much, we're really far behind at this point. So he takes a call line, and at this point, I still think that I potentially have the best hand. Maybe he has a 9-10 or a 10 jack, and he picked up a gutter straight draw to go with his pair. So we get to the river, and this is just a wonderful card for us because we have the nuts at this point. The only thing that's going to beat us is a 10, which I never think he has in his range the way that he played it. Pocket 10, again, never in his range the way he played it as well. And then pocket queens, of course, that's obviously never going to be in his range because he's always going to be raising that pre-flop. So when he checks, we obviously have to go for value. And I bet a little on the larger side, 280 to 350. So let me go ahead and tell you exactly how much that is with my calculator. So this is 80% pot. So this is a bit over my standard 2/3 to 3/4 pot. The reason that I bet so much is that I think that he's going to call this simply because he bet and then he called a raise on the flop. He checked and he called a decent sized raise bet on the turn. So I think that he's going to call a river bet, even because this 8 is a bit of a blank. It really doesn't change anything for his range. And if I'm lucky, maybe he has trip 8s as well and he's going to raise me. But he decides to call. And we win, and unfortunately it doesn't have the hand here because he did muck it, but what he ended up having is that he had 10-9 offsuit. And so we were pretty spot on the type of range that we put him on. You know, he had top pair with a really bad kicker. He probably should have folded the turn, but he ended up hitting a gutter. He wasn't getting a really good price for it, but as a bad player, you know, he probably really doesn't care. He probably thinks that, look, I have middle pair, and I have a gut shot straight draw to the nut straight, so I'm going to call. Granted, he only has 4 outs, and he has an 8% chance of hitting it on the river. He still calls when I'm making him, you know, call a significant size bet. So, you know, this is all about just continuing to go for value. You'll notice that, you know, with the theme of this, yes, you know, he limped in with a weak range. I flopped 2 pair. He bets. This is a pretty dry board with a lot of draws. I mean, sorry, a pretty semi-wet board with a lot of draws. So I go ahead. I don't slow play. I raise the flop. I bet the turn, and I bet the river. And we go for maximum value. And so that's what I want to show you, is that you need to continue to fast play your hands when you have a good hand and extract value whenever you can extract value. So if you have any questions about this hand, please let me know. If not, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Is a part of our Crush Microstakes online poker course, The Complete Mastery Guide. If you like this course, go ahead and click this link here where you can get this course for 50% off via our special YouTube video using our coupon code YouTube, and you'll get enrolled in this course for only $6. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you over at MicroGrinder Poker School.